Hi everyone, so I'm in the Yukon, actually heading up to Tuktoyaktuk, but of course I brought my mine exploring stuff with me, or ropes and all that kind of stuff. And as it turned out, I was stopped in Whitehorse. I was going to change the oil in my truck because it's getting close to oil change, and they discovered that the back of the transmission was leaking. It was kind of stuck here for about 4 days until they fixed that. And in the meantime, of course, I asked around if there was any mines, and there was. So here we are. This is a place called the Copper Belt, and they mine copper in this area. So we've just been talking to some locals, and apparently there's some pits and shafts and different things. Maybe, hopefully, we can get underground. So we're just kind of looking around, and you can see that they mined a little vein here, an open pit, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff. So we're gonna see what we can find, and hopefully we can get underground. At the campground that I'm at, there's a mucker and some mine cars, so hopefully there was some underground workings in this area. Most of it's probably mental. You don't like dark places that are wet and you're claustrophobic. You have a bunch of phobias and stuff. It's not going to be the place for you. As you can see, this area here is a chalcopyrite. See the pyrite in here? Looks pretty cool. And lots of limestone everywhere. So this was the bottom of an ocean floor at one time. Similar to what we see around Phoenix and other areas where they have these type of, I think it's called a skarn deposit. That looks pretty cool. Pretty high, a lot of pyrite in that. So here is another pit. I'm just going to take a wander into here, and hopefully we can find some underground workings. I've heard rumors of it. Guy said there's some shafts and some stuff, so luckily we have our climbing stuff, and if we find something, we only got a couple 100 feet of rope, but not we, it's just me. I always say we. It's a small mouse, we. Mouse in my pocket. Oh, there's a cool malachite vein there. Oh, that looks pretty neat. Let's have a look at that. Little copper, and there's some azurite in there too, so it's copper and silver. Right in there. Yeah, that looks pretty neat. Some water here. It's a problem with the bottom of a pit here. Oh, look at that, there's a piece of track though. Oh, any chance there might be an Adit here? Might have been. Problem is, it's kind of close to town, so there's always that chance that the government filled everything in to keep the public safe. Not a, oh, what do we have there? Whoo-hoo. There's a little Adit there. Looks like there's a scabby looking rope on it. Let's climb up there and have a look. Alright, so there we go. We found ourselves a little Adit. So the tracks coming out of here. And we'll see if there's anything interesting in here. Okay. We didn't bring an oxygen monitor with us. We do have one, but it's not with us. Spare light, of course. All right, so far so good. Right hand rule. Nothing there. All right, well, let's explore this mine. Whew. Okay. Didn't know there was any mines around Whitehorse. That thing with mines, eh? Seems like you can find them anywhere if you look hard enough. Well, we're seeing did a little bit of research about some guy that was taking tours around here, not necessarily underground. I didn't read it all, but I got some really cool pictures of chalcopyrites. Oh yeah, look at that, eh? Malachite. Definitely a zone of copper in here. And I ran into some guys just up the road with a hoe and surveyors that were, wow, that's pretty colorful, that were doing some exploration. You know, the price of copper's up quite a bit now, so you never know, you might see a big open pit copper mine here. So maybe it's a good thing we got in here while we could. This might end up being part of a big open pit. You never know. Yeah, we're seeing good malachite in here. I'll have to see how rich this mine was. But likely had to have been pretty rich for them to mine it back then. Alright, so that's the end of this branch. You know, we weren't expecting really extensive underground workings here, but you never know. We definitely had a good look at this. I'm sure we'll find more. Let's go up the other right-hand branch and we'll see what we can find. The cool thing about this is only like a few minutes from town, so it's really easy for people to come up here and have a look at this. Totally safe. Well, I say that about all mines. So. Wow, that is pretty colorful. We probably only went in, what, about 200 feet or so? In through the limestone, found that deposit. There's only one other branch to the right here. Oh, it only goes that far. So nothing too exciting here, other than some pretty cool looking rock. But they know how to go underground, so hopefully we'll find some other exciting things to show you in the copper belt of Whitehorse. I hiked down to a lower pit. There's nothing down in here except junk cars, but there's just below the adit we were just in. But some nice some nice malachite in here. You see that vein going up in there. Huh. Nice little rock samples, but I got lots of that kind of stuff. But nothing else. No adits in this part. But there's lots of other places to check around, so we'll keep looking. Hey everyone, what's up? So, we're sitting here in the campground Whitehorse, enjoying a brewski. Actually been here for 4 days. So, that sounds like a kind of a bad thing. What happened was, so I was on my way up to Tuck, and so I'm about 500 clicks from Dawson City, and so Whitehorse is the major city in the Yukon here. About 32,000 people live here, which is 90% of the population of the whole territory. So anyhow, I figured I better change the oil in the truck because it's got about 6,000 kilometers on it. By the time to get up to Tuck and back, it's going to be overdue for oil change. So I just went to one of these oil change places, and the guy says, there's a whole bunch of oil leaking out of your back of your transmission. So I went underneath the hoist and looked at it. Now this truck's only got 6,000 kilometers on it. And sure enough, the oil was pissing out of the back of the transmission, or the transfer case actually, where it hooks onto the drive shaft. So I went to the Dodge dealer. There's a Dodge dealer here, and I said, told him what was going on, and he says, oh, you know, we can't get you in for 2 weeks. I says, well, he's sitting here for 2 weeks. So I says, I'll just get someone else to fix it, and I'll be on my way. I went around to every place in town, and same thing, nobody can get me in. So I went back to the Dodge dealer to get the seal, and it turns out it wasn't going to be in for 3 days. So I said, order the seal, and then they said, okay, we'll fix it for you. So, you know, hats off to them guys at the Chrysler dealer here. They, kind of got me in and did that. And but it ended up being a good thing because it turns out that the road going up to Tuck isn't even open yet. So there isn't a bridge going over the Mackenzie River. In the wintertime, they go over on an ice bridge. And then in the summertime, the ferry, but there's this transition time in between that. So it's the 1st of June, and the ferry isn't actually started yet, but it should be in a few days. So by sitting here for 4 days, I would have ended up having to wait for the ferry on the other end because I didn't know. So it turned out to be a blessing in disguise. Whitehorse is a beautiful place. I got the little e-bike here, and I went all over the place, and there's lots of cool places to see. There's a mine that I'm going to show you that I went up. There's some mining history here, and rented a kayak the one day, went down the Yukon River. Had really enjoyable 4 days here, stayed at the campground, and tomorrow we'll be on our way to Dawson, and we'll continue our journey up to Tuck. So the other thing is, I'm trying to think of everything that could screw up. Everyone said, well, you know, it's almost 1,000 kilometers of gravel road up there, and it's just one lane. There's nobody up there. It's a very isolated area. The highway wasn't built till 1979, and he said, well, bring up extra tires and all that. So I talked to the tire guy, and so I've decided to buy 2 brand new tires for my trailer. Hopefully everything will work out. We can get up there and back without being stranded anywhere. I have a big fuel tank. I take another 400, almost 500 liters of fuel up there with me. So we've got lots of food and lots of beer, spare parts. Hope we will make it up there. We'll see you on the road. Hey, we're on the road between Dawson and Whitehorse, and the country's all pretty much like this. The road's good. You just go along about 90 kilometers an hour. You never have to touch the cruise control. You only see a car maybe in once every 15 or 20 minutes. Mountains on both sides. The road's good. Haven't seen any wildlife except for a few elk. Yeah, the mountains are getting a little taller here. Pretty spectacular. So I end up on a little detour up the Beaver Creek because they screwed up. But look at the mountains here, so the road's rougher than hell. Mount Logan is in this range. That is the tallest mountain in Canada. So I ended up with a 1,000-kilometer detour. What the heck? I mean, I'm having fun. These are pretty spectacular mountains. They're looking to the west, so Alaska would be on that range on that side though. So this is the road between Whitehorse and Tok that I made a mistake and went up and then had to go back down. So we'll head back to Whitehorse and start up north again. Here's a couple of elk along the highway. Didn't see actually a lot of wildlife there. Most of the wildlife was around the Yard River hot springs. Just an incredible amount of diverse wildlife there. But yeah, I've seen a few elk here and there, not too much, and a couple bears in this area. Here we are, we're on the Dempster Highway, about 69 kilometers in, so we've been about an hour so far. And so the road's been pretty good actually. It's not been rough at all. Just set the cruise control for 65, 70, something like that. And we're getting into some pretty nice looking mountains. It's about 5 degrees. It's the 5th of June. So the road, everyone says the road is rough and hasn't been bad so far. But the dust is supposed to be bad, but we'll get a little bit of light rain, so no issues with the dust either. So yeah, pretty nice scenery in here. Lots of creeks. I haven't seen any wildlife yet. The snow is not very far up the hill here. So we're just stopped alongside the road and we're going to have a cup of coffee. So up around 70 kilometers, there's an interpretive center from the Yukon government. So you could stop in here. Good place for a picnic and visit it. Honestly, there's not that much to see there, but the 2 ladies there were helpful and friendly, and they had a beautiful view here, so it's a good place to stop and have lunch or something. Picnic tables, washrooms, stuff like that. And there is no cell phone service anywhere on this highway until you get up to Inuvik. So it's definitely a cell. If you need a little holiday from your computer and your phone, this should be a good place to go. So I don't know if we're going to see a lot more trees on the way to the Arctic Circle. I don't know if we're above the tree line, but I see very few trees here. So this is a place where there's some willows and stuff that they sawed down. So this is what I was looking for, a chance to get some firewood. Because if it's all just tundra up there and there'd be nothing to burn, nice to have firewood. So I found the place here where there's some pretty big willows that they cut down, and got a little bit of firewood for the back. So one thing that I don't usually say too much is, you know, where's the nearest car wash? I'm not one for washing cars much. And there's none here, but she's picking up the mud, that's for sure. That's okay though. So the view here is just stunning. We're just having we're setting that cruise control on slower. You're just missing too much stuff. I wish I had someone driving that I could just gawk out the window. Unfortunately, I kind of have to look at the road a little bit so I don't drive off it. But I don't think I've ever seen such a stunning scenery, and it just keeps changing every time I go around the corner. It looks different. This is just such an awesome trip. It was way better than I even thought it was going to be. Again, the landscape is just so varied. I mean, you just couldn't stop to just take a shot of everything. But yeah, it's just jaw-dropping. I mean, every time you come around a corner, you see something completely different. If I stopped every time to take a video of something cool, I wouldn't make 15 miles in a day, I don't think. And, you know, a lot of people said that, you know, the road's terrible and bring lots of spare tires, is all shale. No, it's just nonsense. I mean, the road surface is awesome. And there's huge piles of crushed gravel, so they've really done a good job surfacing the roads. So there's no reason to bring a whole bunch of extra spares or anything like that. Not so far, anyhow. It is a little muddy. Oh, we're just heading off on our second day here. So one thing I noticed is the leaves are just coming out of the trees now. So it's the 7th of June. So you have a pretty short season here. And that is governed by the length of the days. So that's when they start doing that. So it almost looks like there's a mine up there, but I'm sure there isn't. So the other thing that looks like a mine is, look at the water here. Look how red it is and stained everything. That almost looks like it's coming out of a mine, but it isn't either. So like I say, just stunning scenery in here. I'm gonna just go along here and set the cruise control around, 50 or so. You don't want to go any faster than that, or you're just gonna miss so much of this awesome scenery. There, we're on top of the ridge here, so we climbed up a long ways. We were way down at that's the Peel River at the bottom. And it climbed up quite a long ways. Not really steep, but a pretty steady climb. I haven't seen any wildlife here, just some rabbits and ptarmigan or two. So there's no cell phone service anywhere here, but with the new phones, we're actually able to text using satellite, which was a surprise to me. All of a sudden it says, no service available, try satellite. Pretty neat range along here. And it looks like we'll be getting downhill, so we must be crossing into another valley. We're rolling through a pretty big fire here. And that's one thing I really noticed when I was flying the plane, those huge patches burning. They never, it would be absurd to try to fight fires in this area. They just let it burn. It's good for the wildlife, actually. We can use different areas. And yeah, over the summertime you get big fires in this area. Nobody gets excited about them. It's part of Mother Nature. They have these emergency airstrip, but it's kind of crazy because they're in the middle of nowhere. I just landed right at Eagle Plains. I don't know why you'd want to land here. There's nothing around here unless, like I say, it was an emergency. I can't imagine very many planes have ever landed here. I mean, pretty much any part of the highway is wide enough to land. There's no power lines in here. We're at the Arctic Circle with Paul and Anne. They came here all the way from Quadra Island. And yeah, we've been driving all day, and it's been a beautiful day. A little cool and wet, but that's good. That means it's not dusty and there's no bugs. So this is as far as you can. This is the only place in Canada that I know of that you can drive to the Arctic Circle. don't know how much feed value there is in this stuff. Some, I suppose, the caribou and stuff graze in these areas. We're above the Arctic Circle. We're also above the tree line, and there's no trees here at all. Just snow. You see those things on the side of the road? They're in the wintertime when they have big drifts of snow when they're plowing snow, so they know where the road is. Otherwise, it's hard to tell where the road is if it's all drifted in. Yeah, we're just getting right into the snow here. We're climbing further up. Like say it's 7th of June today. We just got cruise control set for about 50 kilometers an hour. And it's kind of a comfortable pace. Not too rough. Pretty short summers here. Probably start seeing snow in September. You know, it's just almost mid-June here now. But we're coming down into the Peel River Valley, which is the same river we were following, oh, I don't know, hundreds of kilometers back. And there's a ferry going here. So this is the issue here. They're not sure if the ferry is going to be running. Might be running tomorrow. So there's nobody who's been able to get to Nuvik or Tuk on the ferry this year since the ice road come out. So this is what we're kind of having to see what happens next, I guess. So in the wintertime there's ice bridge going across the river. Summer there's a ferry, but there's quite a bit of time in between where there's nothing. So now you're thinking, what the hell? Why is this guy parked in the middle of the road? Well, so are we. We've joined the line up here. So we're waiting for the ferry to cross the Peel River. So in the winter there's an ice road going here, and then when the ice is gone, then they put the ferry in. But here it is, the 6th of June, and the ferry has not been put in yet. So we can go for a walk down there. All these people are waiting. We don't really know when, or, well, I guess I'm going to say if, sooner or later, they'll have that ferry in here, but we don't know when. So there's the ferry in the distance there, and I guess the ramp on the other side is all built, but the ramp on this side is not. So it's a little soft. They're gonna have to do a little work on it. I don't know if they're gonna work on it tomorrow or not, because today's Friday. So they got a 6 M dozer there and a wheel loader. On the other side they got a hoe there, so I'm not sure what the plan is. We don't have much information, so we're just gonna stick around for a day or two and find out. Hopefully we can get across to Tuk. Up spending a couple days at the ferry there waiting for it to get across, but they never did get it going, and all of a sudden there was a whole bunch of rainstorms and bad weather forecast, so we thought the river would go up further, and I didn't know when the ferry was going to go. So we're right at Fort McPherson, which is only about 200 miles from Tuk. So back in 2014 I flew up to Tuk with my airplane. If you would like to see that trip and some footage around Tuk, it's in the description. My other channel, Canadian Aviation Adventures. I got a bunch of stuff on there from when I was flying around. There's some cool stuff on there, so you can have a look at that. If you're going to stick around here, we're going to head back down south. We're going to go to Dawson City, which is pretty cool. Got a little bit of a look around there, and then we're going to head down to Stewart and Hydra, Alaska. And then the other video that I made a couple of weeks back was some stuff around Hyder and into the Riverside mines. So that would. So yeah, we're gonna head down there, and that's the end of my adventures to the Arctic. We're still in the Northwest Territories. The roads are pretty good here, but it's starting to rain, and especially in the Yukon, the roads aren't as good. So, but still a fair bit of snow here. It's what, the 10th of June or so, and there's still snow on the side of the roads everywhere, and in the mountains. Haven't seen much wildlife here. They're hiding. Ah, we see a bear. It's a grizzly bear. Not too big a one. Gonna race us down the road. fast can they run? He's doing about 25 kilometers an hour. Hey, young fella, what you up to? You look a little winded. Have a good day. Yeah, it's been raining quite a bit, so it was making the road a bit rougher. So now we're down about 50 kilometers an hour, and you just kind of hold on. Most of the road's not bad, but you know, it gets wet and it's some, you know, a lot of mud and stuff on there, so she's a little. It's not as much fun driving when it's like this. This is why we wanted to get out of here before it got really wet. It just kind of started raining. Pretty close, pretty cool countryside along here. It's raining and it's wet. So I was kind of fooled. I thought, well, we're close to the tree line here, but actually, as we get further north, there's a lot more trees. I'm not sure why there's not much for trees growing in here, but there's some signs saying about horses being here, but we never saw any horses along here. Hard to believe that it's almost the middle of June here. We're just coming into Dawson City, and you see these big piles of gravel. You see them out from the air from my other video when I flew over here. These are actually dredge tailings. It's pretty impressive looking from the air. The big dredges went through here and dug all this up. And these are just it looks like, from the air, it looks like a mole, a huge mole or something went through here. And put all these tailings up and behind it as it goes along. Well, there, made it down the Dempster Highway, and I'm in front of the Yukon Hotel in Dawson, which is actually where I stayed when I flew here last time. So we hit the car wash. That the truck was so muddy you couldn't see out the windows. So the car wash, I was only allowed to wash the front part of it, so you can see what it looked like before I washed my trailer. And it cost like $8 to wash what I did. And the back of it's just mud. So if I feel like it, I'll spend another $4 and I'll wash the back end of it. But that's what it looked like. So we're gonna wander around, spend the day in Dawson City, and then we'll probably head back to Whitehorse. I'll see me. So my fridge quit, so I don't have a fridge working anymore. So actually, it's pretty clean. Well, compared to what it was. It's all relative. At least I can see out the windows. So, yeah, Dawson City is a pretty cool place to come visit. There's kind of a mix of gold miners working in here and tourists and people that live here. It's a pretty cool spot, and we'll look around some of these places. So there aren't any paved roads in town. The highway's paved coming to here. But in town, it's all like boardwalks, and lots of old buildings here. Some of them are pretty dilapidated, and other ones they've fixed up. This is kind of like the main street, I guess. Here's the bank, and some of the hotels. That's the downtown hotel. It's one of the bigger ones. So down there where the Triple J is, and there's a place called Diamond Tooth Gertie's. That's where the dance hall is, where you can see girls dancing. Like I said, there's no paved streets in Dawson, which is kind of cool. Neat place to come for a visit. Cannabis. They never had cannabis back in the old days. I guess Dawson City is up with the times. There's the general store. And the ship over there is called the Kino. I think you can go for tours on it. Let's have a look in the store. This is where you come for groceries. Nobody will know this camera's on. We'll sneak in here.
Yeah, I'll just go check with her what the best thing is.
Ladies, language.
Fuck that.
You're on camera.
It's a little dirty. Really silly.
Are you going to be here for a minute? Or? Okay, I'll meet you up in there.
I was just watching a porcupine climb up the bank here. Out come the camera. Where'd he go? So we're heading back to Dees Lake. We're going to head up into Stewart. And I want to go to Hyder. I've never been Hyderized, so we're going to meet up with Ben. Yeah, lots of traffic on the highway today. Oh, there's that porcupine, I think. I see something moving there. There he is. We'll catch up with him. We're not going to chase you. Well, maybe we will. Hey, little porcupine. Quit running. Just want a little picture, that's all. There it is. He's getting in defensive mode there. I like to just go up the trees. Best. Then we get a good shot of him. Yeah, climb that tree, buddy. Nope. I see it hiding in there. Yeah, well, we won't antagonize him too much more. Let him get on his way. Yeah, son of a muskegee stuck in here. It looks like there was a railway there. They built a railway, it was going to Alaska, and then they abandoned it, didn't make it all the way there. But quite a bit of traffic here today because the Alaska highway is closed the way we came down through the yard because of forest fires. They had lots of fires here last year and they popped back up in the spring. Closed the highway. This is the road between Dees Lake and Stewart. Really tall mountains along here, quite spectacular. He didn't really stop to look at them that much. The road's a little narrow, but it's not bad. Like you say, there's lots of traffic on it because of the fire. So yeah, it's just a beautiful drive. And if you're going up to Alaska or something, you want to go up maybe the Alaska highway and come down here. See a little bit of a change of scenery heading back down south. Okay, so we're almost at Stewart here, and this is a glacier right alongside the highway. I think it's called the Teddy Bear Glacier. I think it used to come right out into this big lake, and it was close to the highway at one time. I was here about 5 years ago and rented a chopper and went way up in behind there to a mine called Porter, Idaho. We got a real cool video of it. I don't remember what episode it was. But Yeah, we have really high mountains here. The reason there's so much snow here is because they get the most snow out of any city in Canada, as far as I know. They get like 40 feet of snow or something a year here. Because it's close to the coast mountains near the ocean, but it's a little colder here, and instead of raining all winter, it snows.